Am I live? Yes. 1 second. We go live about the ICJ-ruling, Unwra killing American soldiers. Go live. Live video is starting. I'm live. Good evening, everybody. This is my second video and I hope it will be better than the last one, although the last one was not that bad. It was just a little bit of technical issues we had. So let me see. We are still in the test mode, although it's quite new for me. So today I want to talk about three issues. It's actually one topic. It's about the Gaza war. First of all, the ICJ ruling, that was really bad. Secondly, the Unwra, and thirdly, the killing of 3 American soldiers in Jordan. So when we talk about the ICJ ruling, to start with, it was bad for several reasons, but the most obvious reason is that they didn't rule for a ceasefire, and that was the hope. Because if a ceasefire was ruled, it was a legal, actually a legal and binding decision, but it didn't. Why not? The exact reason I don't know why they didn't, but most likely they are somehow under influence of Israel. They put them under pressure, or they used their friends to put the ICJ ruling under pressure, because it would be totally reasonable to ask for a ceasefire. Considering the amount of dead people, there are about 250 Palestinians dying every day. Considering the fact that they are in a humanitarian crisis, there is a lack of food and water. There is starvation going on. Different human rights organizations have called for a ceasefire just to make sure that people get the aid they needed desperately. So it would be really more than reasonable to ask for a ceasefire, but they did not. When they didn't, you can ask how serious you can take the international court, or how serious you can take the international law. So could you interpret that Israel can continue with the war because they didn't ask for a ceasefire? Actually, yes, because that would be the reason which makes Israel scary, and also because the European countries, they said we will abide by the decision. It's an international court, it's in The Hague. It would be also difficult for European countries to not abide to the ruling. In that case, they should, and they would most likely, put Israel under pressure for a ceasefire. Now, there is not such a ruling, so they won't put Israel under pressure. to do it. Another reason is not another reason. Another viewpoint is that most pro-Palestinian organizations and South Africa interpreted the ruling as a victory. Probably they did that for PR reasons. Definitely in the case of South Africa. I mean, how can you celebrate a ruling that did not ask or pleads for a ceasefire, and the killing is continuing every day? 250 Palestinians, like I said. So you was not able to stop that. So how can you celebrate it like it was a victory when you are not in the position to stop that? So obviously that's not a victory, that's a defeat. So what did the ICJ ruling tell more? They also said something about the genocide. What they did say was that Israel need to do everything it can to prevent death, destruction, and any acts of genocide. That's what they said. But this doesn't mean that Israel is committing genocide, since this ruling about genocide will take years. So in that case, you can say to any party which is in a war to do everything it can to stop acts of genocide, death, and destruction. That doesn't mean they're doing it. As a matter of fact, they need to rule about that in a later stage, like I said. So it's actually a totally hypothetical remark. And this is a big defeat for Palestinians. It's a big defeat for peace, and it's a big defeat about the credibility of international law. It's really a big defeat. Yeah, how could they come to such a ruling? I really don't know. And it must somehow, Israel must be involved, that they put pressure on it, or it's a Western hegemonical institution. You can also say that, because when you look to Russia and in the Ukraine war, they did rule for a ceasefire in that case. So why did they rule for a ceasefire when it's about Russia and not when it's about Israel? So it looks like it's a political case for political reasons. How can you not call for a ceasefire? I mean, whoever is in the world, if you see the huge humanitarian disaster, how inhumane is it to going on with this genocidal war? I mean, they say, some say it's only in the interest of Hamas to have a ceasefire, or Nancy Pelosi recently said, yes, calling for a ceasefire is what Putin wants. So just because Putin wants a ceasefire, we shouldn't have a ceasefire? Is that the only thing that counts? it's just Hamas who have who is beneficial for a ceasefire, they say. So what about the 2.3 million Palestinians? It's not in their interest to have a ceasefire, you want to say? Of course it is. I mean, Hamas can still fight after 4 months of bombing, intensively bombing, after cutting food, electricity, oil, water, you name it. They are still able to fight on. And it's not only about Hamas, because when you say that, when you only focus on Hamas, it means totally disregarding the 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza. I mean, to go back to the ICJ ruling, how seriously can you take an ICJ ruling when in these circumstances, with a big human catastrophe, with a starvation which isn't seen anywhere in the near future or in the near past, the destruction which is comparable to Second World War. I mean, North Gaza is that much damaged that maybe it's inhabitable for people. It's not habitable for people in the future, that no one can live there anymore because the destruction is too much. It's extreme. It's clearly that the ruling is a political ruling, and it has nothing to do with objectivity or the rule of law. Absolutely nothing. It's obviously a political ruling, and that's very disappointing. So, for now, the Palestinians doesn't have any hope to international law or justice also. It's really a big disappointment. A people who is living around 17 years in a blockade, the largest open air prison in the world. A people who is for years the victim of war crimes, because this is obviously not the first war crime. A people who is 75 years under occupation and gets help of nobody. Nobody in the sense that nobody is able to change anything about their situation. An oppressed people, a voiceless people who are getting brutalized, getting smashed, getting destructed, annihilated by the Israeli forces. And it's clear what the end game is, where they want to go. Now we have also seen the post-day Gaza conferences that ministers of the Israeli cabinet are publicly calling for Israelis to live in Gaza, are publicly calling for occupation. And it's more than occupation actually, because if you drive out one people and you get in the other people, your people, that's clearly genocide. Anyways, that was the Unwra ruling. Secondly, we go to the, ICJ ruling, I'm sorry. Secondly, we go to the Unwra ruling. Coincidentally, this was this news came Friday, the same day as the ICJ ruling, and this was also very bad for Palestinians. I don't know if it was coincidence or well organized, because the story goes like this. It's actually a rumor or an allegation that Unwra members are allegedly involved in the Hamas attack of 7 October. um, the head of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said he was shocked when he heard this. Several countries, America first, and some European countries like the United Kingdom, Italy, and the Netherlands, have withheld their payments of Unwra, and Israel is calling for the resignation of the head of Unwra. So this is really remarkable, especially of Antonio Guterres, who said he was shocked. How can he be shocked about an issue which needs to be investigated, and at this point we don't know if it's true? The source is Israel, and it's not a reliable source. It's not neutral. They are a part of this conflict, an important part, and they have clearly interest to come with this lie, if it's lie, which looks like a lie. But they have reasons to come with this allegation because they said they accused other United Nations organizations and human rights organizations also of terrorism just for aiding the Palestinians, and it shows they don't want any help for the Palestinians. As less as possible, they are the cause of the famine which is going on. They want the Palestinians out. They say it publicly. Cabinet members are saying it publicly. There are leaked documents who are saying it publicly. So they have obvious reasons that for not helping the Palestinians. And Unwra is one of the few organizations who can help and who are helping the Palestinians. As a matter of fact, more than 70% of the food which is coming into Gaza is through Unwra. And now they want to cut all of that. Also the European countries who are withholding their contributions. The European Commission also. Even if the allegation is true that a few members participated in the Hamas attack on 7 October, how can you withhold your contribution to Unwra? Or it's like pleading that that organization should not exist anymore. It basically means stop cutting the aid of 2.3 million Palestinians. I mean, it's punishing collectively. It's collective punishment. So just because a few members helped Hamas, you need to punish 2.3 million people by cutting their food? The most basic human needs? I mean, you can punish in other ways. You can put those responsible on trial. You can look for a new system of checks and balances. You can adjust their way of working. There are obviously numerous things you can do, but you choose for the most extreme solution, if it is a solution. Actually, it's not. It's contributing to the annihilation of Palestinians in Gaza. It's continuation of the Gaza genocide, and in this case we can no longer say that the West is silent when Israel is committing genocide. No, the West is actively helping Israel committing suicide. This is Unwra topic is a clear issue, a clear example of it, but not the only. They help with weapons, selling weapons. They help with using their media, the public opinion, in advantage of Israel. For instance, the pressure on all the social media companies like Twitter, Facebook, especially Twitter. At the start of the war, they asked Elon Musk for. Basically, they asked Elon Musk for not allowing pro-Palestinian posts. I mean, they didn't put it in these words. They put it in other words, but basically it's this. Because when you post pro-Palestinian, not extremism, just pro-Palestinian, you get less reach and less like than what you would have in other topics. You can ask, I face it, but you can ask anyone who is posting pro-Palestinian posts on any social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, doesn't matter, even TikTok. It's clearly helping Israel, and another example is all these topics about the Holocaust and Second World War. Suddenly, they talk now about that. For instance, the University of Utrecht. Why is the Holocaust now a topic to talk about when Israel is committing another genocide? I mean, you can see a genocide through live TV. You don't talk about that. You don't call it genocide. But you talk about the genocide of the Second World War. It has definitely a subtle meaning, sending a message like we are standing behind Israel. We support you. Trying to manipulate the public opinion. That is what it is, unfortunately. The Unwra, another good example of the double standards Europe is doing. So they punish now Unwra by cutting their aid. We have also had the issue of violent settlers. Settlers who are getting guns of their own minister, the radical one, Ben Gvir is his name. Ben Gvir is Minister of National Security. He was in the past convicted of terrorism. Is a very radical man. He is openly giving weapons to settlers. America didn't want that. They wanted to stop giving their arms, but they did. He did continue with giving settlers weapons. Let me see, rifles. I think it was rifles. To give them rifles. Yes, rifles. America want to stop the rifles, but I don't know if they stopped it. Probably not. But what did America and some European countries, settlers who are responsible for this issue, for violence against Palestinians, they put them on a terrorist list, like it was forbidden for them to travel to those countries. Who did this? Crime? So they were forbidden to travel to countries who imposed these sanctions. So the sanctions were imposed to individual settlers rather than the country Israel. They could also sanction Israel on different topics and different ways. They have the opportunity to do that. They didn't do it. But these countries are sanctioning a whole organization, the Unwra, actually the only organization who is able to help Palestinians with humanitarian aid. They punish the whole organization. So it's very clear where they stand. Then we have another thing what also happened this weekend, Sunday actually, yesterday, is the killing of 3 American soldiers in Jordan. So that is something which occurred for the first time since 7 October, and potentially the conflict can split over to other countries. How serious should we take this? First of all, we need to know if the attack of these, it was an Iraqi group, you can call them terrorist group or a liberation movement. I don't know them. So I can't say they are terrorists if I don't know them, just because here in the West we are saying that they are terrorists. I mean, I don't know the organization. Anyway, let's them call it an armed group. Did they intend to kill American soldiers or not? Because it's not the first time that American bases in the Middle East are attacked since 7 October. Actually, it started when, I think, a month ago, maybe sometime longer, and it didn't kill any American soldiers. That was for a reason. It was for a reason, because they didn't intend to kill American soldiers. And all these organizations are financed by Iran, that's true. And it was like more barking instead of fighting. They were not serious attacks, all of them not, because they didn't aim to hurt any American soldiers. It was more, I think it was more to show the Middle East that they are doing something for their Palestinian brothers, like the attacks of Hezbollah. Here in the West it looks like it's very serious, it's a big threat, but actually Hezbollah doesn't do anything more than bombing buildings, trees, grass, nature. Bombing buildings and nature, that's what they do. They killed very few Israeli soldiers. On the other hand, Israel killed many Hezbollah fighters, almost 100. Israel is serious. They wiped out at least one neighborhood in Lebanon. They used phosphor bombs in Lebanon. They killed civilians far more than Hezbollah did. They attacked even the capital of Lebanon, Beirut. So they did quite a lot of things that exceeded the unwritten rule between Hezbollah and Israel, that they can attack each other without escalating. So then you attack each other within in border areas. And clearly Israel did far more than that. Hezbollah didn't. So it's clear that Hezbollah don't want a war and Israel wants a war. Why doesn't Hezbollah want a war and Israel does? Well, if you start with Hezbollah, which is also funded by Iran, the most likely answer is because Iran doesn't want a war. It also showed it with the Iraqi and Syrian-backed armed groups. What I just told you, they are attacking American bases without killing anyone, and Hezbollah is doing the same. It's just to show the world, to show the Middle East they are doing something for their Palestinian brothers, but not seriously, because a war is considered as a big risk for them. A direct conflict with America, it's a big risk. They don't want that. If they would want that, they would have done other things. On the other hand, Israel wants a war with Lebanon, and this can, for several reasons, but the most convincing reason is Netanyahu, that we all know he needs to leave office at some point in the near future, but if there is a war going on, he will remain in power. And the Gaza war cannot continue for too long because the destruction is so extreme that there is almost nothing left to bomb. There is almost nothing left to bomb, so it's really sad. The next thing that the Palestinians will kill are the diseases, which will most likely make even more deaths among them than the current wave of intense bombs. It's truly horrible. Anyways, when we come to the issue of the 3 Americans killed in Jordan, which Jordan denies that it was happened in Jordan. Why do they deny that? Because they don't want to retaliate. If it happened, if they admit it, they need to retaliate. And if you don't do that, it's weakness. It's already weakness. But they can only fool their own people that it didn't happen in Jordan but in Syria. But the rest of the world definitely knows that it happened in Jordan. And Jordan is not able to retaliate for some reasons. Will America retaliate? That's the big question. They said, Biden said numerous times that he also don't want the war to expand. So a retaliation will make a little bit more a chance to expanding the war beyond Gaza. They also don't want that, just like Iran. On the other hand, you can also not do nothing because that shows your weakness. So most likely they will retaliate, but not in a big fashion that can lead to an all-out war. They will retaliate, which is more or less the same as what these Iraqi group did. And just they will kill a few, not many people. They will retaliate in a proportionate manner. That's what I expect. We'll see. We'll see what happens. What will happen. It can also escalate. I don't know. But for now, it seems like nobody wants an escalation. Not Iran, not the United States, not Lebanon, not Hezbollah, but Israel they want. And They also already said in publicly, different cabinet ministers, that a war with Hezbollah is a matter of time, and that will be a big, big, big war. That will really a fight between two giants if that happens. But for now, we need to wait what will happen in Gaza. I hope a ceasefire soon. Somehow they're negotiating about the hostages. So we'll see. This was it for today. And yeah, I will come back soon. Thank you for watching.